Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Verlicity AI Podcast. I'm Cristian Worthington.
And I'm Sandra Giffin. Today we're tackling something really big, the spice of life. Variety. Don't worry, we haven't gone all woohoo. We don't want you to think we've traded our AI chips for mindfulness beads. As you'll soon see, viewed through the lens of AI, variety, and more specifically, serendipity, is a really important subject.
That's right. Variety is the spice of life, but it's also a critical feature of our economy, and it plays a vital role in the way we learn and interact with the world.
Yes. And today we're going to explore how AI's undeniable talent for serving up the perfect answer presents a huge challenge for our economy and the way we live our lives.
On the surface, AI is a phenomenal tool. It removes friction by instantaneously matching us with the exact answer we want in milliseconds. It promises a world of tailored information and unparalleled efficiency. But beneath that gleaming surface of efficiency lies a profound disconnect that could have widespread implications to the economy and society.
Yes. Markets thrive on complex and often confusing signals that flow in both directions, from buyers expressing needs, but also, crucially, from sellers and creators, introducing novelty, shaping desires, and signaling value in myriad ways. If an AI agent, in its bid to be efficient, interferes with or dampens these market signals, can the free market still perform its vital functions?
Let me paint a picture that will help you appreciate what's at stake. Imagine I want to book a trip to Hawaii. I tell my advanced AI agent all my known preferences, my budget, my preferred travel style, my strong interests in specific types of hiking, quiet beaches, and high-quality local food. Maybe the AI has observed me on previous trips and knows me better than I know myself.
The AI diligently processes your query, scours the vastness of the web, and presents you with what it deems the objectively perfect trip, perfectly aligned with your stated needs, and it might even anticipate needs you didn't know you have. Let's just say that this AI agent gets you. Sounds incredibly efficient, doesn't it? No more endless scrolling through dozens of travel sites. No more clicking on reviews to see if there's anything you missed that could turn your trip into a disaster. No more painstakingly trying to piece all the elements of the trip all together.
Sounds amazing. Where do I sign up?
But here's the rub. What if there's an experience in Hawaii, or perhaps even an entirely different destination you haven't considered? We're talking about an experience that you would absolutely love, but it falls outside your current preferences. I'm talking about a trip that would have redefined your preferences if only you knew it existed.
Oh no, suddenly I'm feeling a big case of FOMO.
Exactly. What if exposure to information about, say, a unique cultural festival on a less touristed island, a compelling story about local conservation efforts where volunteers are welcomed, or a new form of ecotourism you've never encountered, would genuinely change your preferences or ignite a new passion? The AI, by optimizing solely for your current profile, might never allow that signal to reach you. Imagine not being exposed to the very information that could broaden your horizons and potentially change your life, simply because the AI didn't think those other options neatly fit your query or your historical data.
So, the AI gives you the right answer based on your explicit input and past behavior, but it might not be the best answer for your potential undiscovered self. You could say that the AI has inadvertently sanded down the world. It's robbed me of the chance to experience something potentially life-changing.
Now, to be fair, online searches can also take you directly to information you request.
Yes, but when you search, a skilled marketer has designed the website you land on. You'll often be presented with information that might upsell you into a different option. Or an advertisement will pop up in your search results offering an alternative you might not otherwise have considered, or your search results might include options that are not directly aligned with your past travel history.
And of course, an AI result will skip all of these seemingly inefficient possibilities, and in the process, rob you of knowledge that might have enhanced your experience.
And the consumer isn't the only loser in this equation. The AI has also robbed vendors of the opportunity to entice you to explore new ideas. Economists have a term for this scenario: market failure. But from a purely human perspective, it could lead to a lot less fun.
Who knew that good economics and fun were aligned? Seriously, you can see how this could lead to some very big problems. In classical economics, prices are the primary conveyors of information in a market. But the symphony of market signals is far richer and more nuanced than just price tags.
I see what you mean. Think about packaging, product placement, the narrative woven into an advertising campaign, the design of a storefront, or even the strategic bundling of services. These are all signals sellers send to shape perception and invite consideration.
To use a common phrase from infomercials, and there's more. Think of the signals that are sent with special offers or time-limited offers, where the seller instills a sense of urgency. And upselling, where a vendor might see you're buying a pair of pants and try to sell you a shirt that matches. Or an influencer who presents you with an aspirational perspective. The market thrives on all these subtle signals that AI largely ignores when it produces an efficient answer to a query.
Yes. For example, a chocolatier doesn't just sell cocoa and sugar, they wrap truffles in gold foil to whisper luxury, to signal a premium experience. A software startup might bundle a new cutting-edge analytics dashboard with comprehensive onboarding support, not just to sell a tool, but to signal that insight, not raw data, is the real product they're offering. These cues aren't just responding to existing demand, they invite buyers to imagine new problems or new solutions and experiences they hadn't previously considered. In these scenarios, the buyer didn't possess the information before he or she explored the market and stumbled upon new possibilities.
But when an AI is inserted as the primary intermediary between seller and buyer, we lose all of those market signals. Some of those carefully crafted, often subtle market cues are flattened or filtered out. The AI agent might optimize purely on the query provided by the user and a very literal interpretation of the goal.
And this isn't an abstract concern. Consider the business model of streaming services. They bundle a vast array of shows and movies. This bundle isn't just about user convenience. It's an economic strategy, an investment in future fandom and customer retention. They expose you to content you might not have actively sought out, hoping you'll discover your next favorite series.
If your AI agent, tasked with managing your entertainment budget or time, cherry picks only the episodes or genres that precisely match your past watching pattern, that avenue for discovering something new disappears. And if that happens at scale, what does it do to the producer's incentive to fund riskier, avant-garde content that doesn't have a clear, pre-existing audience? In this scenario, market signals aren't sent in either direction. The buyer doesn't get to see content that might be entertaining, and the seller isn't incentivized to create innovative content. The market stagnates and everyone loses.
The AI's perfect answer risks becoming a boring answer. A market dominated by AI could operate on the tacit assumption that my preferences are fixed and markets exist solely to satisfy them as they currently are, never to actively shape my behavior or introduce me to novel value propositions.
And let's not forget that shaping behavior, shaping demand, is big business. The global advertising industry spends astronomical sums, roughly $900 billion a year, doing precisely that. Marketers are constantly trying to create desire, introduce new ideas, and challenge existing preferences. If my AI decides, based on my past purchases, that I'd never wear a leather jacket, the retailer, the designer, the marketer never even gets the chance to present their case, to challenge my assumptions with a compelling new style or context.
This leads to a negative feedback loop, doesn't it? The AI narrows my options based on past behavior or explicit requests. I then make choices within that already narrowed band. The agent learns from this reinforced pattern, and the loop spirals ever tighter.
Market dynamism withers. But marketers aren't the only thing that stagnates in this scenario.
Let's talk about the human cost of losing serendipity, that wonderful, almost magical human experience of finding something valuable or delightful when you're not actively looking for it.
It's the magic of the unexpected encounter. And you've often used a powerful analogy for this, Chris, the shopping mall.
Right. Imagine I go to a physical mall with a goal to buy a blue shirt from a particular store. But as I walk through the mall, my attention is caught by a striking jacket displayed in a shop window. It's a style I've never considered before, maybe a store I've never been to before.
In that moment, the retailer, through their deliberate curation, their sense of style, their understanding of current trends, or perhaps even their desire to create a trend with something avant-garde, has placed something in your path that you couldn't have anticipated. And this isn't random. It's a calculated signal from the seller.
Exactly. That retailer isn't just passive in this interaction. The retailer is actively trying to shape my desires, making an economic bet on that jacket, using limited space in the shop window based on market research or intuition or taste.
And this interaction influences whether or not you buy. Maybe you buy the jacket instead of the shirt, or perhaps you buy both. Or maybe you just file away a new style idea. This chance encounter has changed your perspective as a shopper.
Now, translate this to the online world. So much of online retail has been geared towards optimizing the path to purchase based on user data, click-through rates, the time someone spends on a web page, cookies, discount codes, shopping carts, stated preferences, and retargeting ads. AI currently supercharges this optimization. For example, ad platforms like Google and Meta make heavy use of AI behind the scenes to ensure customers see the ads that will more likely result in engagement. But what happens when an AI agent sits between the consumer and the seller? Do people still browse diverse websites with their unique editorial voices and curational stances? Or are both the buyer and seller completely oblivious to the signals because an AI is standing in the middle?
If I'm looking for a new camera, for instance, the traditional online journey might involve browsing multiple photography specialty sites, reading reviews, stumbling on user forums, discussing niche applications or creative modifications I hadn't considered. That journey itself informs my choice, expands my understanding. I might discover a brand, a feature, or even a whole photographic style I didn't initially know I needed or wanted.
An AI-curated experience impacts that crucial idea that someone searching for X, say sustainable gardening tips, could be artfully persuaded by a savvy human marketer or a passionate blogger to also explore Y, perhaps a related post on local composting services.
These X to Y connections aren't always obvious, statistically driven connections that an AI optimizing for direct relevance would necessarily make. A human marketer, a subject matter expert, or even just a well-curated niche blog often understands those subtle psychological links. They can create a pathway for discovery that isn't purely based on keyword matching or existing user profiles, but on a broader understanding of context.
Can AI reliably make those kinds of creative, empathetic, context-rich leaps? It can certainly find statistical correlations. If users interested in organic gardening also frequently click on articles about beekeeping, the AI will learn that. But can it truly understand the why behind those correlations in a way that allows for genuinely novel and persuasive X to Y bridging, especially for trends that are not well represented in its training data?
And consider the psychology of the vendor-consumer relationship. Part of what makes us choose one product, service, or even information source over another, especially in a crowded marketplace, is the trust we place in that source, the story they tell, or the perceived authenticity. If the AI becomes the intermediary, does that vital human connection, that brand affinity built on narrative and trust, begin to erode?
It could flatten the competitive landscape, making it significantly harder for unique voices, artisan producers, or niche providers with a distinct vision to break through if they don't perfectly align with the AI's criteria. The chance discovery of a small, independent online store with a truly unique perspective, or a groundbreaking piece of investigative journalism from an unknown blogger, might become much, much rarer.
What economists call the experience good paradox, where you can't know how much you'll value something like a novel, a specific wine, or a unique vacation until you actually experience it, becomes harder to solve if the storytelling and persuasive signaling that traditional marketing used are replaced by purely numeric similarity scores.
Stories are where new demand is often born.
This brings us to another crucial layer, Chris. We've talked about the consumer and market implications, but what about the value of digging into something and going down rabbit holes until you get to the truth? If AI shortcuts the journey too much, it risks robbing us of learning experience.
Absolutely. The very act of searching, of reading dissenting blog posts, skimming dense academic PDFs, watching imperfect but passionate tutorials, wrestling with contradictory sources, builds crucial cognitive muscle. It's in that struggle that you form better analogies, refine your taste and judgment, learn to detect nuance, bias, and underlying assumptions.
In other words, the journey produces intellectual value that is separate from, and sometimes even more important than, the final answer itself. Imagine AI as a GPS that only shows the fastest route, not the scenic detours where you discover hidden gems.
Or think of a student who is simply handed a solved mathematical proof versus one who wrestles with a theorem for 3 hours, trying different approaches, hitting dead ends, before finally grasping the solution.
In both cases, the student gets the same ultimate answer, but a vastly different intellectual journey and depth of understanding.
There's solid empirical backing for this. Studies on what psychologists call desirable difficulty consistently show that learners retain information more effectively and develop deeper understanding when they are forced to struggle a bit to exert effort in the learning process. By outsourcing too much of this intellectual struggle to AI, we may well increase the speed of information retrieval, but inadvertently lower the depth of comprehension and retention. And depth is where true breakthroughs and original insights often hide.
So, when we talk about AI leading to a commoditization of information, stripping away seemingly irrelevant information, it's that the perceived effort, the engaging journey, and the critical nuance of finding and synthesizing that information are significantly diminished.
Before widespread AI, finding specific information might have involved sifting through numerous books in a library, consulting multiple human experts with differing opinions, or spending many hours online, meticulously piecing together fragments from diverse sources. That active process leads to unexpected discoveries, the forging of novel connections, and a significant expansion of the potential solution set.
And now, an AI can often deliver a consolidated, seemingly comprehensive answer in seconds. It's a bit like the difference between a bespoke suit, meticulously tailored to your unique form, after multiple fittings and discussions with a skilled artisan, and a very good suit bought off the rack. Even an excellent off-the-rack suit isn't tailored to your unique, perhaps even quirky, individual form and preferences in quite the same deeply personal way.
AI provides the information, but it's often information processed through complex layers of algorithms and massive datasets weighted by factors its developers and the data it was trained on deems important. And those factors, while often impressively, might inadvertently miss uniquely human elements of understanding.
For example, if I'm researching a historical event, an AI can swiftly give me a summary, key dates, main figures, and major outcomes. But it might struggle to convey the emotional zeitgeist of that time, unless it's been very specifically requested to address touchy-feely issues.
It's the crucial difference between mere information retrieval and wisdom. AI excels brilliantly at the former. If I need to know the capital of Mongolia, I don't need a serendipitous, soul-searching journey. I just need the answer. Ulaanbaatar. Done. That kind of efficiency is a genuine boon.
But for so many other things in life and work, we don't just want an answer. We seek understanding, perspective, surprise. If information becomes a mere commodity, fetched on demand like a utility, do we risk losing the incentive or even the skills for deeper engagement?
It's a critical question, because if the AI consistently gives us what it thinks we want based on our past behavior or explicitly stated preferences, how do we effectively grow beyond those preferences? How do we encounter the truly novel, the genuinely disruptive idea or the perspective that lies far outside our current filter bubble?
And it's crucial to emphasize that this discussion isn't just about buying things or optimizing our vacation plans.
Yes, the value of serendipity, of chance encounters with unexpected information, extends to so many other vital human activities. Think about research, scientific innovation, artistic creation, and even profound personal insights.
Absolutely. History is replete with stories of major scientific breakthroughs, influential artistic movements, or even pivotal personal life changes that stemmed from unexpected juxtapositions of ideas, accidental discoveries in a lab, or the chance finding of an obscure book that unexpectedly took someone's thinking in a completely new direction.
But what happens when an AI agent sits between the consumer and the seller? Do people still browse diverse websites with their unique editorial voices and curational stances? Or are both the buyer and seller completely oblivious to the signals because an AI is standing in the middle?
Even if the AI is perfect in its domain, it's still just drawing from what's already been documented. New information lives in that space between what's already known and the unknown. One way humans arrive at this new knowledge is through serendipity.
This makes me think about the deep learning process itself. When you're truly immersing yourself in researching a complex topic, you often go down rabbit holes. Some of those, admittedly, turn out to be unproductive dead ends, a waste of time. But others lead to these incredible, unexpected insights, forging connections between seemingly disparate fields or uncovering foundational assumptions you hadn't questioned.
That messy, sometimes frustrating process of getting thoroughly lost in information, of not knowing exactly what you'll find or where the journey will lead, is often precisely where real learning, creative leaps, and the development of original thought happen. It's where you build your own unique mental map.
And this directly raises the critical point about the unknown unknowns. AI, especially current generations, is remarkably good at finding what we know we're looking for. or what its algorithms predict we might be looking for based on statistical patterns in vast data sets. But it's inherently much harder for it to effectively expose us to things we don't even have the conceptual framework or vocabulary to ask about yet.
It reminds me of that famous quote, often attributed, perhaps apocryphally, to Henry Ford. He apparently said, "If I had asked people what they wanted, they would have said faster horses."
Yes, that's a perfect example of the kind of derivative thinking that could be the result if we aren't careful.
So, if we acknowledge the value of unexpected encounters, can an AI replicate that magic of the mall? Or the accidental library discovery? It could certainly be programmed to offer wildcard options, things deliberately chosen to fall outside your usual profile, in an attempt to simulate serendipity.
An AI could say people who liked X also perhaps surprisingly liked Y, or it could even be trained to generate novel designs or suggest unconventional pairings. It could, for example, show me a whimsical option for my Hawaii trip, like suggesting I suddenly take up deep-sea fishing, even if I've never shown the slightest interest in boats or fishing.
But is that true serendipity, or is it just a calculated deviation from the norm, an algorithmically generated surprise? Does it carry the same psychological weight, the same sense of genuine discovery, as seeing that jacket in the shop window displayed with a certain human flair in a physical context, catching your eye in a moment of open, unguided browse? Or stumbling upon that paragraph in an old book that suddenly illuminates your research from an entirely new angle?
I think it creates the illusion of serendipity, perhaps, but there's a human element of curation, context, passion, and even fallibility in the mall example that's incredibly hard, if not impossible, for a purely algorithmic system to replicate authentically. The shopkeeper isn't just an algorithm optimizing for engagement. They're often a person or a brand embodying a distinct personality with a point of view, a story to tell, a passion for their wares.
And as a shopper or a researcher in those moments, you're often in a psychological state that's more open to discovery, not just focused on efficient task completion. That irrational switch you might make from the blue shirt to the unexpected jacket, or from your main research path to a fascinating tangent, feels authentic and self-driven because the stimulus itself felt authentic.
Yes, that perceived authenticity is absolutely key. If I know an AI is programmed to try to be serendipitous with me, does it inherently lose some of its magic and its power to genuinely surprise or shift my perspective? I'm reminded of the suggestions at the bottom of the page when I'm shopping on Amazon. That section where it says other items customers buy after viewing this item. Most of the time it feels contrived, and often it's irrelevant.
This isn't to say that AI-generated novelty can't be useful or inspiring. It certainly can be a tool for brainstorming or breaking creative blocks. But it's different from the often messy and deeply human process of stumbling upon something truly unexpected.
So if we accept these multifaceted challenges, the potential distortions in economic signaling, the diminishing value of the deep research journey if overly simplified, the inherent limits of AI and fostering genuine serendipity, and the risk of creating ever tighter filter bubbles, then what's the path forward? We're certainly not being anti-AI. That would be like arguing against a library catalog because it organizes books and makes them easier to find. AI tools are phenomenal for many tasks.
Not at all. The efficiency gains are undeniable and largely positive for many applications. This is more about recognizing potential blind spots, understanding what vital aspects of the human experience with information and discovery AI, in its current forms, doesn't or perhaps can't fully replicate. It's about finding a dynamic balance, How do we leverage AI's immense power without inadvertently sacrificing the precious spaces where true serendipity, genuine surprise, and unguided, deep exploration can thrive?
You rightly pointed out in our earlier discussions, Sandra, that simply programming AI to occasionally randomize its responses or trying to create a kind of superficial ersatz serendipity probably isn't a robust enough solution.
It can feel like the AI is just shuffling the deck or trying to play human. We need more structural, thoughtful approaches.
Perhaps our listeners may feel we're being too romantic about serendipity. After all, pure randomness can just be a waste of time.
That's a fair point. But let's think of discovery not as a binary of directed versus random, but on a spectrum, from hyper-directed to completely free and aimless. Take TikTok's For You page algorithm. Unlike Instagram's feeds, which often prioritizes content from accounts you already follow or topics you've explicitly engaged with, TikTok intentionally surfaces unfamiliar content, quirky niche creators, obscure hobbies, or perspectives you'd never search for. It's designed to reward novelty and unpredictability.
That isn't accidental. TikTok's algorithm weighs diversity of content as a core metric. The result? Users often stumble into unexpected communities, like the hashtag BookTalk, which is revolutionizing publishing by resurrecting forgotten novels or sparking bidding wars for obscure manuscripts. Compare that to Instagram, where homogenized feeds can trap users in endless loops of similar reels and ads.
The lesson here, AI can foster serendipity, but only if novelty and diversity are hard-coded into its objectives, not just relevance.
And somewhere in the middle of that spectrum lies what I like to call guided wander. It's akin to a well-designed museum audio tour. It expertly points you toward the acknowledged masterpieces, providing valuable context, but it still allows you the freedom to pause at an odd, unheralded sculpture in a quiet corner that happens to captivate your attention.
Balancing that expert guidance with the space for personal, unscripted wandering is, I believe, a key design sweet spot we should aim for.
For example, Spotify's Discover Weekly playlist is a masterclass in this balance. It doesn't just recommend songs identical to your favorites. Instead, it blends familiar patterns, like your beloved indie rock guitar riffs, with wildcards, a Swedish folk band, or a jazz cover of a song you've played 100 times. This mix keeps listeners engaged while expanding their tastes. In fact, Spotify found that users who engage with Discover Weekly stream 30% more music over time. For businesses, this is a blueprint. It turns out, AI-driven serendipity can be good for the bottom line.
And here's the kicker. Spotify doesn't leave this to raw algorithms alone. Human curators and genre experts tag songs with rich metadata, like mood, instrumentation, lyrical themes, which the AI then uses to bridge gaps between known and new. It's a hybrid model. Machines scale the discovery, but humans define the connective tissue.
So how do we translate that into AI design and our interaction with these systems?
One promising area could be in how AI models are fundamentally designed to value and present novelty, outlier information, or even intelligently selected dissenting viewpoints, not just to optimize for immediate relevance to a user's narrowly defined query or past profile.
Perhaps diverse objective agents could be developed. Imagine running multiple AI personas simultaneously, each with conflicting goals. One for best price, one for highest novelty, one for ethical sourcing, one for challenging your assumptions, and then letting the user mediate these diverse outputs.
I love that. It moves from the AI as an all-knowing oracle to the AI as a panel of diverse experts. Another idea could be exploration credits or discovery quotas. Platforms could consciously bake in a certain percentage of out-of-profile recommendations, perhaps even subsidized by sellers, creators, or innovators who crave exposure for their novel offerings, but struggle to break through the established algorithmic filters. This needs careful design, but the intent is to carve out space for the new ideas.
Transparency in signaling is also vital. Instead of a black box ranking system where you don't know why something surfaced, AI could provide more transparent signal channels. Imagine if a recommendation came with a tag that indicated the serendipitous reason it was suggested. These tags would be clues that empower the user to make more informed choices about where to direct their attention.
And we absolutely cannot discount the enduring value of human-in-the-loop curators. Professional editors, subject matter experts, trusted community upvoted lists, or even passionate individuals whose taste you admire can sit atop the AI layer.
Yes, this isn't about replacing AI, but augmenting it with human wisdom.
Notice that none of the solutions we proposed rely on blind randomness. They treat serendipity and diverse discovery not as a dice roll, but as a crucial design parameter. It's also about valuing those human curators, editors, and even unconventional thinkers more than ever. Those who can make the surprising connections and introduce us to the shop window ideas that an AI focused on patterns might overlook.
And perhaps there's a role for what we might cautiously call serendipity tools, though it still sounds like a contradiction in terms. But maybe AI could be designed not just to answer, but to actively provoke, to present genuinely orthogonal information in a way that sparks new lines of thought. That's a very complex and fascinating design challenge.
This isn't just a theoretical discussion. There are practical things we can all consider. For everyday users, for our listeners, perhaps it means consciously cultivating habits of inefficient browsing or scheduling intentional deep dive days. Periodically roam through physical bookstores, libraries, diverse blogs, independent forums, or even brick-and-mortar stores. Track what surprises you, what you stumble upon when you're not on a specific mission.
It also means individuals taking more active responsibility for bursting their own filter bubbles. Actively seek out unfamiliar perspectives, follow thinkers you disagree with, explore genres or topics outside your comfort zone. Understand that the perfect answer from an AI is just one type of answer. Information commoditization only happens if we passively accept AI answers without question.
For companies worried about being buried by AI's perfect answers, look to Duolingo. Their AI-powered lessons adapt to your learning style, but they also inject unexpected challenges, like translating a K-pop lyric or decoding a meme in your target language. These moments aren't just fun. They mimic the joy of stumbling into a conversation abroad.
The key? Bake serendipity into your product's DNA. Use AI to guide, not just gatekeeper.
For businesses, especially small or innovative ones, the challenge is to craft signals that are readable and valuable to both humans and machines. This means rich, structured product metadata for the AIs, yes, but also compelling storytelling, bold imagery, unique value propositions, and perhaps even transparent price experiments for human browsers, who might discover you outside of a direct AI query. Think about how your shop window looks in both the algorithmic and the human realm. How can you invite that guided wander towards your offerings?
Businesses also need to consider how they engage with these AI intermediaries. Is it purely about optimizing for the current ranking algorithms, or is there also a strategy for contributing to a richer, more diverse information ecosystem where their unique signals can be discovered through multiple pathways? This might involve investing in high-quality original content that AI might surface in unexpected contexts, or partnering with human curators and influencers who can champion their unique value.
And what about policymakers, Chris? This is a big picture issue.
Indeed. Policymakers might need to consider new lenses, perhaps even updating antitrust frameworks, not just to look at data ownership or market concentration in the traditional sense, but to consider discovery hegemony. If a very small handful of powerful AI intermediaries effectively gatekeep serendipity and control the primary pathways to information and product discovery, what does that mean for fair competition, for innovation, and for the diversity of voices in the marketplace of ideas? This is a new playground for competition law and media regulation.
It's a call to stay curious, isn't it? To not let the undeniable ease and convenience of AI-driven answers lull us into a state of passive consumption where we forget the profound joy and the critical importance of getting a little lost, of stumbling upon the unexpected.
AI, like any powerful technology, can illuminate, but it can also inadvertently narrow our field of vision if we're not mindful. Markets, in their most vibrant form, bloom when diverse signals crisscross, often unpredictably. Learning, in its deepest sense, blooms when the path is allowed to meander, to include challenge and unexpected turns.
So, the invitation here is to consciously keep a foot on the efficiency rail that AI provides, because it is incredibly valuable, but also to keep a firm foot on the curiosity trail, the path of exploration. Let's collectively refuse the false choice between overwhelming chaos on one hand and overly sterile, restrictive curation on the other. There's a rich, dynamic middle ground.
This entire journey with AI is one of ongoing discovery for developers, for businesses, for policymakers, and for each of us as individuals. We are only at the very beginning of understanding how to integrate these remarkable tools in a way that genuinely enriches rather than inadvertently diminishes these vital aspects of our lives, our learning, our creativity, and our economic dynamism.
We'd love to hear your stories and your thoughts on this complex interplay. Are you finding that AI streamlines information for you effectively? Are you concerned about missing those serendipitous moments or the broader economic and intellectual implications we've discussed? How do you try to foster serendipity in your own life or work? What are your stories of accidental discoveries? Commercial, intellectual, or just plain quirky, that changed something for you?
Share them with us at verlicity.ai or tag us at Verlicity AI on your favorite social media platform. We believe you, our listeners, have the power to shape this AI revolution by being conscious, critical, and creative users.
And please remember to share this podcast with anyone you think might find this conversation stimulating and important. And if you haven't already, please subscribe so you don't miss our future explorations into the fascinating world of AI.
Thank you for joining us today on this journey. I'm Cristian Worthington.
And I'm Sandra Giffin. Until next time, keep questioning, keep exploring, get a little lost from time to time, and remember to wander back and join us for our next episode of the Verlicity AI Podcast.